Welcome back to Dare to Game, where we dive deep into the heart of gaming adventures, sorting the epic quests from the epic fails. Today we're taking a sword to Dragon's Dogma 2, Capcom's long-awaited sequel to its cult classic. Released more than a decade after the original, this game steps back into the world of dragons, darkness, and daring do-gooders, with the return of the Arisen and their ever-faithful pawns. But does it recapture the magic, or is it just a flicker in the RPG pantheon? Buckle up as we dissect what makes this beast roar and sometimes whimper, giving you a lowdown on whether it's worth your time and your coin. Our final verdict, a mixed bag at 6.8 out of 10, reflecting a journey that's as bumpy as it is bold. Let's dive into why Dragon's Dogma 2 might just be your next guilty pleasure, or a passable pastime. Now ready your weapons and let's dive into the world of Dragon's Dogma 2 to see what treasures and traps lie ahead in this fantastical sequel. Section 1, Vocation System and Depth of Customization. Dragon's Dogma 2 takes us back into its sprawling fantasy world with a promise to wield your skills and shape your destiny as you please. One of the shining gems in this game's elaborate crown is undoubtedly its vocation system. Picking up where the first game left off, this sequel doesn't just bring back the old classes, it introduces new ones, adding layers upon layers of tactical depth that will have the strategists among us rubbing their hands with glee. From the outset, you're given the choice to mold your character in the classic roles of fighter, mage, thief, or archer. But as the game unfolds, more complex vocations like the mystic spearhand and the magic archer reveal themselves. These classes offer a blend of abilities that can dramatically shift the tide of battle and influence your approach to encounters. The real kicker, though, is the introduction of the Warfarer class, a class that encapsulates the essence of versatility by allowing you to mix and match skills, armor, and weapons of other vocations. The beauty of this system is not just in its variety, but in its encouragement for players to experience and adapt. Each vocation feels distinct, catering to different playstyles and strategies. This dynamic customization keeps Dragon's Dogma 2 engaging, providing a robust foundation that stands as a core strength of the game. Yet while the vocation system invites us to dive deep into character development, it also begs the question, does it offer enough to keep the game from feeling stale over its lengthy campaign? Stay tuned as we explore more about what makes Dragon's Dogma 2 both a treasure trove and a test of patience. Section 2, Combat and Encounters. Dragon's Dogma 2 shines in its moments of clash and clangor, where the metal meets the monster. The combat system here is fluid, fierce, and at times wonderfully frenetic. You'll find yourself thrust into the thick of it, with battles demanding more than mere button mashing. Each skirmish is a dance of death where strategic placement, timely use of skills, and an understanding of your enemy's weaknesses are crucial to survival and victory. The game excels at creating combat scenarios that are as varied as they are exciting. Whether you're facing off against a towering cyclops or a horde of swift, shadowy specters, each encounter feels significant. The AI pawns play a pivotal role here, not just as support, but as integral parts of your combat strategy. They learn from each fight, adapting their tactics based on your style and the myriad of challenges that you can face together. This responsiveness makes for immersive battles that are both visually spectacular and tactically satisfying. The thrill of setting up a perfect combo or executing a flawlessly timed dodge keeps the adrenaline pumping and the player engaged, ensuring that Dragon's Dogma 2 delivers an action-packed experience that's hard to put down. Next up, let's wander off the beaten path and into the wilds of this game's vast world, where the thrill of exploration beckons. Section 3, World and Exploration. Exploration in Dragon's Dogma 2 is an adventure in itself, one that unfolds across a landscape rich with mystery and menace. The world Capcom has crafted here is expansive and detailed, offering a variety of environments that range from shadowy forests and stark deserts to bustling townships and eerie abandoned ruins. Each area is not just a backdrop, but a living part of the game's fabric, filled with secrets waiting to be uncovered and dangers lurking around every corner. Venturing into this world feels rewarding due to the sheer scale and complexity of the environments. The game's day-night cycle further enriches the experience, transforming the same locations under the cover of darkness, where more formidable creatures emerge and the paths once taken by daylight twist into treacherous mazes. This dynamic shift not only heightens the sense of immersion, but also significantly impacts gameplay, requiring you to adapt your approach depending on the time of day. Personally for me, having played it on PC, the graphical fidelity brings this vibrant world to life with stunning clarity. The landscapes are beautifully rendered, with attention to texture and light that draws you deeper into the game's realm. Navigation is made more meaningful with the inclusion of challenging terrain and hidden pathways that may lead to unexpected encounters or valuable treasure, making each expedition feel like a genuine exploration. As engaging as this exploration is, it brings us to some of the game's shortcomings. particularly when the vastness of the world becomes a double-edged sword. Let's delve into some areas where Dragon's Dogma 2 might have wandered a bit too far from the path of player convenience. So that brings us to our first downside or negative of the game, performance and technical issues. While Dragon's Dogma 2 offers a world brimming with potential adventures, the journey is occasionally hampered by technical stumbling blocks that can pull you right out of the experience. Playing on PC, you'd expect a game of this caliber to run smoothly, especially with a powerful setup. However, the reality can be a bit jarring, with frame rate drops and occasional graphical glitches that disrupt the otherwise immersive atmosphere. These performance issues manifest most noticeably in densely populated areas or during intense combat sequences, where the demand on the system spikes. It's in these moments that you might encounter sudden lags or a drop in frame rate, which not only affects the gameplay but can also lead to frustration, especially during pivotal battles where precision is key. Moreover, the game's ambitious open world and detailed graphics, while visually appealing, seem to strain under their own weight at times. This can lead to longer than expected loading times, which on PC breaks the pace of exploration and combat. It's these moments that remind you of the game's ambitious reach, but also its grasp, which doesn't always hold up under closer scrutiny. Despite these technical issues, the game's core mechanics and the allure of its vast world keep the experience engaging. However, these performance problems are points of contention that can't be overlooked and lead us into further areas where Dragon's Dogma 2 struggles to maintain its magic. Which brings us to our second negative thing about the game, which is repetitiveness and a lack of innovation. Dragon's Dogma 2 walks a fine line between homage and repetition. For fans of the original, the game's adherence to its roots might be seen as a faithful continuation, but for those seeking evolution, it may appear as though innovation has taken a back seat. The game's structures, from quest mechanics to world design, often echo its predecessor to a fault, leaving a feeling of déjà vu rather than discovery. While the combat system and vocations bring a layer of tactical depth, the overall game structure can feel overly familiar. Quests often fall into repetitive patterns. Fetch this, kill that, without enough variation to keep them feeling fresh throughout the extensive playtime. This issue is compounded by a quest system that can be obscure, with important objectives and NPCs easy to miss, which might lead players to circle back through the same content repeatedly in search of progression. This repetition extends to the world itself. Despite its vastness and beauty, many areas might feel totally interchangeable with those from the first game, lacking distinct, memorable landmarks or unique atmospheric touches that could have given them a new identity. The game's charm is undeniable, and the thrill of exploration initially captivates, but as hours turn into days, Dragon's Dogma 2 struggles to maintain that enchantment, often recycling its old tricks instead of introducing new ones. This approach to game design, where the old is rehashed rather than reinvented, leaves a mixed impression, impacting the overall experience. Which brings us to our next section, quest design and navigation. Navigating the world of Dragon's Dogma 2 can be as challenging as it is enchanting, with quest design that demands a great deal from players. The game's approach to questing is deeply traditional, avoiding hand-holding and encouraging exploration and interaction. While this can lead to rewarding moments of discovery, it often results in confusion and frustration due to vague directions and the potential for missing critical paths or objectives. The game's map and navigation systems provide minimal guidance. Quests rarely offer clear markers or straightforward paths, relying instead on the player's ability to uncover clues and solve puzzles embedded within the environment and dialogue. This can imbue the game with a sense of genuine adventure and accomplishment, but it can also lead to aimless wandering as players try to decipher cryptic hints or stumble across trigger points by chance. It forces a playstyle that is not just about exploration, but about patience and persistence, which may not appeal to everyone. Additionally, the game's fast travel system is restrictive, further complicating navigation and making backtracking a time-consuming endeavor. This approach to quest design and navigation reflects Dragon's Dogma 2's commitment to a more hardcore old-school gaming experience, but it also highlights areas where the game could benefit from modern enhancements. The balance between challenging players and respecting their time is delicate, and here the scale often tips towards the former, sometimes to the game's detriment. Another more negative aspect, or I should say overall negative aspect of the game, is the character interaction and voice acting. Dragon's Dogma 2 endeavors to create a vibrant, interactive world filled with characters that have their own stories and personalities. However, the game often stumbles in the execution of these character interactions, particularly when it comes to voice acting. The pawns, central to both the gameplay and narrative, unfortunately fall victim to repetitive dialogues that can grate on the player over time. The voice acting ranges widely in quality, with some performances performances feeling genuine and immersive, while others come off as forced or overly dramatic, which can disrupt the game's otherwise serious tone. The repetitive nature of the pawn dialogue, intended to provide helpful tips and insights, often ends up repeating the obvious or stating the redundant, which detracts from the immersion and can become a source of annoyance. Moreover, the interaction mechanics with NPCs and pawns are somewhat dated. Conversations often feel very one-sided, with limited options for meaningful engagement that could influence the game's world or the development of relationships. This aspect of the game does not leverage the potential depth that could be explored through more dynamic and responsive dialogue systems, which are common in contemporary RPGs. This area of the game, while foundational to the Dragon's Dogma experience, underscores a missed opportunity to deepen the player's connection to the world and its inhabitants, ultimately impacting the overall engagement and enjoyment. Which brings us to our last overly negative point that I want to talk about: the narrative and storytelling. The narrative of Dragon's Dogma 2 treads familiar ground, and unfortunately it doesn't venture much beyond the basic contours laid out by its predecessor. The story, centered around the epic struggle against a fearsome dragon, offers a classic fantasy setup but fails to deliver a compelling narrative drive or deep character development. While the premise has potential, the execution feels lackluster, with the plot often feeling like an afterthought to the game's exploration and combat elements. Quests, which could have been a vehicle for rich storytelling, frequently boil down to routine tasks that do little to advance a cohesive narrative or develop the game's world's lore. Side quests and main missions alike suffer from blandness and a lack of meaningful impact, making them feel more like checkboxes than integral parts of a grand saga. This is further exacerbated by dialogue that often comes across as stilted or generic, failing to add the needed depth or emotional resonance that could have elevated the narrative. The absence of a dynamic storytelling approach where player choices significantly affect outcomes or character fates is noticeably missing, leaving little room for personal investment in the game's story. This static approach to storytelling in a genre celebrated for its narrative possibilities marks a missed opportunity to engage players more deeply with the world of Dragon's Dogma 2. In a landscape where many RPGs successfully intertwine player actions with story outcomes, the narrative experience in Dragon's Dogma 2 can feel very outdated and disconnected, underscoring the game's struggles with maintaining modern gameplay innovations while staying true to its roots. This disconnect between the game's narrative ambitions and its execution is a pivotal factor in why, despite its expansive world and deep combat system, Dragon's Dogma 2 might leave players wanting more from their journey. But to end on a slightly more positive note, let's talk about the unique features and mechanics of this game. One of the standout features of Dragon's Dogma 2 is its innovative pawn system. This unique mechanic allows players to hire AI companions developed by other players, adding a layer of strategy and community interaction. Pawns learn from the battles they fight, adapting tactics that reflect their experiences, which makes them more than just mere followers, as they become crucial allies with valuable insights and suggestions. This asynchronous exchange of pawns among players not only enriches the tactical gameplay, but also fosters a sense of connection within the game's community. Each pawn's journey is influenced by different players' styles, offering fresh perspectives and strategies that enhance the game's experience. Despite some repetitive dialogue, the pawn system remains a brilliant feature that blurs the lines between single-player and multiplayer, creating a dynamic and engaging environment that evolves with each interaction. In conclusion, Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game of contrasts, where its moments of brilliance are often shadowed by areas that could have used deeper refinement. From its expansive and beautifully crafted world to the engaging combat and innovative pawn system, the game certainly sets the stage for epic adventures. However, it's held back by technical issues, repetitive gameplay, and a narrative that doesn't quite captivate the imagination as much as it could and probably should have. The Vocation system and the depth of customization offer a robust tactical playground, and the unique pawn mechanics introduce a novel way to experience the game socially, even within its single-player confines. Yet the performance stutters, lack of narrative depth, and occasional monotony prevent it from reaching the heights it potentially could have. Balancing out all the strengths and weaknesses, Dragon's Dogma 2 earns a score of 6.8 out of 10 from me. It's a game that, while fun and filled with intriguing ideas, ultimately feels like a mixed bag. An adventure that will captivate some players with its depth and complexity, but may leave others wanting more refinement and innovation. Whether you're revisiting the franchise or are new to the world of Gransys, Dragon's Dogma 2 offers a unique experience, albeit one that might not be memorable for everyone. For those willing to overlook its flaws, there is certainly enjoyment to be had in in the challenge and beauty of its sprawling, dragon-infested landscapes. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.